I was supposed to be getting married in 3 days. 2 years with Amanda, 6 months engaged, and I thought I had found the woman of my dreams. Until last night. I was helping set up for her bachelorette party when I overheard her telling her friends, "Desmond is just a stepping stone. I will leave him once the wedding is paid for." They laughed. I silently walked away, heart shattered, but mind suddenly clear. Instead of confronting her, I decided to play along with her game. Before I tell you how I discovered my entire relationship was built on lies and what I did about it, drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from and hit subscribe if you have ever had to walk away from someone who betrayed your trust. I met Amanda 3 years ago at my college friend Ryan's housewarming party. I was 29, established in my career as a mechanical engineer at an aerospace company, and admittedly a bit lonely. My dating life had been a series of short relationships that fizzled out after a few months. I was the guy friends described as a great catch who somehow remained single. Amanda walked into that party like she owned it, confident, stunning, with a laugh that made everyone turn to look. When she approached me, I assumed she had mistaken me for someone else, but she knew exactly who I was. "You are Desmond Taylor, right? Ryan mentioned you designed components for the new commercial spacecraft project," she said, her interest seemingly genuine. "That sounds fascinating." We talked for hours that night. She asked thoughtful questions about my work and seemed impressed by my ambitions. For a guy who often felt invisible at social gatherings, her focused attention was intoxicating. Amanda worked as a marketing executive for a luxury cosmetics brand. She moved in social circles that intimidated me, a little people who vacationed in places I had only seen in magazines and casually dropped names of celebrities they had met at industry events. Our early dates were a whirlwind. She introduced me to upscale restaurants where the waitstaff knew her by name. I met her glamorous friends, all seemingly perfect with their designer clothes and curated social media lives. Though I earned a good salary, I sometimes felt out of place in her world, worried that my middle-class upbringing might show through like a stain on an otherwise perfect shirt. "You fit right in," Amanda would assure me, straightening my tie or adjusting my collar. "Everyone loves you." But I noticed how she sometimes winced when I used the wrong fork or mentioned growing up in a small town in Ohio. During our time together, my career took off. I was promoted to lead engineer on a major project which came with a significant salary increase. Amanda seemed particularly excited about this development, organizing a dinner party to celebrate and introducing me to more influential people in her network. "I always knew you were going places," she said that night, kissing me in front of everyone. "We make such a power couple." Among all of Amanda's family and friends, her younger sister Jessica was the only one who seemed genuinely warm toward me without any pretense. Jessica was studying to be a veterinarian, and her straightforward nature was refreshing compared to the calculated interactions I often had with others in Amanda's circle. "You know you are good for my sister," Jessica told me once when we were alone. "She needs someone grounded like you." Looking back, I wonder if there was a warning in her words that I missed. After 18 months together, I proposed. Amanda had casually pointed out a 3-carat diamond ring during a shopping trip months earlier, mentioning how it would perfectly complement her hand shape. The ring cost 3 months of my salary, but seeing her face when I presented it during a private helicopter tour of the city made it seem worth every dollar. The wedding planning began immediately and quickly spiraled into an extravaganza beyond anything I had imagined. Amanda insisted on a historic estate venue that required booking 2 years in advance. Fortunately, there had been a cancellation, but it came with a non-refundable $30,000 deposit. "This is our once-in-a-lifetime moment," Amanda said, when I expressed concern about the cost. "Do you want to look back at our wedding photos and feel like we settled?" Soon we were planning a $75,000 wedding with 200 guests, many of whom I had never met. My parents, practical people who had been married for 35 years in a simple church ceremony, expressed concerns when they visited and witnessed the excessive planning. "Son, are you sure about all this?" my father asked privately. "The marriage is what matters, not the wedding." Amanda has always dreamed of this day. I defended, though a small voice inside me questioned whether it was the marriage or the spectacle she truly wanted. As the wedding date approached, our joint savings account drained rapidly. Amanda had contributed some, but the bulk came from my savings and a portion of my investment portfolio I had reluctantly liquidated. She assured me it was a worthy investment in our future together. Looking back, the red flags were waving frantically in my face. Amanda rarely wanted to spend time with my family, always finding excuses to cut our visits short. She would transform around her friends, becoming someone I barely recognized, laughing at jokes that felt cruel and dismissive of people she deemed beneath her. Whenever we discussed future plans, her vision always involved bigger houses, more exclusive neighborhoods, private schools for our future children, and connections with the right sort of people. When I talked about possibly wanting to teach engineering someday or start a small design firm, she would smile tightly and change the subject. Yet somehow I rationalized it all. I told myself she was ambitious, that she pushed me to be my best self, that relationships involved compromise. In reality, I was the only one compromising, slowly reshaping myself to fit into the future she had designed, where I was merely a supporting character. The week before our wedding was a blur of stress, final payments, and welcoming family members who had flown in from across the country. My parents arrived first, settling into their hotel with the quiet dignity that characterized everything they did. Amanda was polite but distant with them, always finding reasons to cut visits short. 3 days before the ceremony, Amanda had her bachelorette party planned at her friend Tiffany's sprawling suburban home. Tiffany had asked me to help set up some outdoor lighting and sound equipment earlier in the day, assuring me I would be gone before the festivities began. "We want everything perfect for our girls' last hurrah," Tiffany said with a wink that made me vaguely uncomfortable. I arrived at 2 in the afternoon, working methodically to string fairy lights across the backyard patio and set up the speaker system. The house had an open floor plan, and as I worked outside, I could hear Amanda and her friends arriving, their voices carrying through the open windows as they gathered in the kitchen for pre-party champagne. I was about to announce my departure when I heard my name mentioned. Curiosity made me pause by the side of the house, just out of sight but within earshot of the kitchen window. "So 3 more days until you are officially Mrs. Desmond Taylor," one of her friends said teasingly. "Are you ready for forever?" There was a pause then. Amanda's laugh, a sound different from the one I knew, sharper somehow. "Honestly, Desmond is just a stepping stone," Amanda replied, her voice slightly lowered but still perfectly audible to me. "I will leave him once the wedding is paid for, and I have secured the connections I need." The champagne glasses clinked as someone made a toast. "To using what you have. Got to get what you want." My body went cold, then hot blood rushing in my ears as I stood frozen in place. "You are so bad," another voice gasped, followed by conspiratorial giggles. "How long do you plan to stay married?" 6 months post-wedding. Should be enough time to secure the gifts, enjoy the honeymoon, and build my network through his connections," Amanda replied coolly. "His new position means access to the executive level at Aerospace Dynamics. Richard from their marketing division will be at the wedding, you know. The recently divorced Silver Fox girl you have been planning." This was Tiffany's voice. "Please, I have had my eye on Richard since last year's industry gala," Amanda continued. "He comes from old money, not new money like Desmond. Do you know Desmond's father worked as a high school teacher? Can you imagine?" The casual cruelty in her voice as she mentioned my father, one of the most honorable men I knew, made my stomach clench. "What about the proposal? You showed us the video, you seemed so happy," someone else asked. "God, that helicopter ride was so tacky," Amanda snickered. "I had to practically draw him a map to that jewelry store months earlier. 3 carats was the minimum acceptable, and he maxed out his credit card for it. So desperate to please. And his family, they seem sweet." This voice I recognized as Jessica's, and I detected a note of discomfort in it. "Sweet is code for embarrassing," Amanda replied dismissively. "His mother asked me if she could wear the same dress she wore to his college graduation, as if I made sure to seat them at the back table with the distant relatives. Hopefully they will not be in too many photos." My knees felt weak, and I steadied myself against the side of the house. Every word was a knife dismantling the relationship I thought we had, revealing the elaborate facade she had constructed. "What if he suspects something?" one friend asked. "Desmond, please. He is completely besotted with me. He believes everything I say. Amanda's voice was confident, almost bored. He thinks this lavish wedding was my dream since childhood. The truth is, I just needed an event grand enough to impress the right people and establish the right connections. And he is covering most of it right, of course. His savings part of his investment portfolio. I have made sure my name is not on most of the contracts. When I leave, he will be stuck with the debt, not me. I had heard enough. Moving silently, I gathered my tools and slipped away to my car without alerting them to my presence. My hands shook so badly I could barely insert the key into the ignition. Once inside, I sat motionless, trying to process the complete destruction of what I had believed was my future. I drove aimlessly for hours, eventually parking at Lookout Point, a scenic overlook where I had once brought Amanda to stargaze. I sat on the hood of my car, staring at the city lights below my mind, replaying every moment of our relationship through this new, terrible lens of understanding. All those times she had seemed interested in my work. She had been cataloging useful connections. The expensive dates had been investments in her future, not expressions of love. Even the ring on her finger was just a trophy evidence of her ability to manipulate me into depleting my savings for her benefit. As the sky darkened, a strange calm replaced my initial shock and pain. I knew exactly what I needed to do. By the time Amanda returned from her bachelorette party around 1 in the morning, I was home pretending to sleep. She crawled into bed beside me, still smelling of expensive champagne and entitlement. "Did you have fun?" I murmured sleepily, playing my part to perfection. "The best," she slurred slightly. "The girls really outdid themselves." "I am glad," I replied, turning over and closing my eyes, concealing the fact that my entire world had shifted on its axis. The next morning I maintained the charade, kissing her goodbye as she left for her final dress fitting. The moment she was gone, I called Mike, my best friend and best man. "I need to meet you." "Now, something has happened," I said, my voice steady despite the circumstances. We met at a coffee shop across town where I recounted everything I had overheard. Mike's expression shifted from shock to anger to grim resolution. "I never liked her," he admitted finally. "She always seemed to be performing rather than living. But this is beyond anything I imagined. I need your help," I told him. "I am not going through with this wedding, but I need to do this right." That afternoon, I visited my bank, speaking with the manager about protecting my accounts and credit. I withdrew a specific amount of cash, just enough to sustain me for a few weeks if necessary. I called my company's HR department and arranged for an emergency 2-week leave beginning immediately after what would have been my wedding day. When Amanda returned home, bubbling with details about her dress and the bridesmaids' final fittings, I smiled and listened attentively, asking all the right questions. That evening, I cooked her favorite meal and poured her favorite wine, playing the role of adoring fiancé to perfection. The following day, I met with Reverend Thomas, the officiant for our ceremony, requesting a private meeting without Amanda's knowledge. "I cannot in good conscience go through with this marriage," I told him, explaining the situation without bitterness or anger, simply stating facts. "But I need your help with how this plays out." The day before the wedding, I managed a brief conversation with Jessica when she stopped by to drop off some decorations. "Jessica, can I ask you something?" I said carefully. "Have you ever felt that Amanda is not who she appears to be with me?" Jessica's uncomfortable expression told me everything before she even spoke. "What do you mean exactly?" I think. "You know," I replied gently, "I overheard Amanda at the bachelorette party. I know everything." Jessica's face crumpled. "I am so sorry, Desmond. I have tried to talk to her about how she treats you, but she just laughs it off. I did not know she was planning to leave you, though. That is terrible. I appreciate your honesty," I said. "I need to ask a favor. Say nothing about this conversation to Amanda. Can you do that?" She nodded, looking both relieved and concerned. "What are you going to do?" "What I need to do to maintain my dignity," I answered simply. That night, I wrote 3 letters. One to Amanda's parents apologizing for what would happen but explaining that I could not proceed with a marriage based on lies. One to my parents telling them I loved them and would explain everything soon. And finally one to Amanda, detailing exactly what I had overheard and including printed copies of our joint financial statements highlighting every dollar I had contributed to our fraudulent future. The wedding day dawned bright and clear. I sent Amanda a loving text message as she prepared with her bridesmaids at the hotel. Cannot wait to see you walking down the aisle. Today is the beginning of our truth. She did not catch my subtle emphasis on the word truth. I dressed carefully in my tuxedo, placed the letters in my inside pocket, and drove to the church with Mike. Are you sure about this? He asked one final time. I have never been more certain of anything, I replied. The church filled with 200 guests, many of whom I had never met. I stood at the altar outwardly calm, nodding and smiling at guests, shaking hands with Amanda's father when he approached to give me a pre-ceremony pat on the back. The music began. The bridesmaids processed down the aisle in their carefully selected dusty rose gowns. Then the bridal march played, and everyone stood. Amanda appeared at the end of the aisle, a vision in white, clutching her father's arm. She had never looked more beautiful or more foreign to me. The ceremony proceeded exactly as rehearsed until the critical moment arrived. Reverend Thomas looked at me solemnly and asked Desmond Taylor, "Do you take Amanda Marie Wilson to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do you part?" There was an expectant pause. Instead of saying I do, I turned to face the assembled guests. I came here today prepared to make vows of truth, fidelity, and lifetime commitment. I began my voice steady and carrying to the back of the church. Unfortunately, I recently discovered that my fiancé does not share those intentions. A collective gasp went through the congregation. Amanda's face transformed from confused to horrified. 3 days ago, I overheard Amanda telling her bridesmaids that I am just a stepping stone, that she plans to leave me after securing the benefits of this expensive wedding, which I primarily paid for. She admitted she has never loved me and has been pursuing another relationship. "Desmond, what are you doing?" Amanda hissed, her face flushed with anger and embarrassment. I continued calmly. "I cannot, in good conscience, enter into a marriage that was designed to be temporary from the beginning. I deserve better than to be anyone's stepping stone. We all deserve genuine love." I reached into my pocket and placed the envelope addressed to Amanda on the altar. This contains everything I heard that night, along with financial statements showing the $70,000 I contributed to this wedding. Consider it my gift to you, Amanda. The freedom to pursue what you really want without the inconvenience of divorce. With dignity, I stepped down from the altar, walked up the aisle and out of the church, accompanied by shocked whispers and a few supportive nods from guests who had perhaps seen through Amanda's facade before I had. Mike followed me out, and we drove away as the church erupted in chaos behind us. "Where to?" he asked. "The airport," I replied. "I have a ticket for a one-way flight that leaves in 3 hours." I checked into a hotel in San Diego, a city I had always wanted to explore, and turned off my phone for 24 hours. When I finally powered it back on the next morning, the screen lit up with hundreds of notifications. 37 missed calls from Amanda. 68 text messages ranging from rage, "How dare you humiliate me like that," to desperation, "Please call me. We can work this out," to manipulation. I did not mean any of those things. I was just trying to sound cool for my friends. There were supportive messages from my parents who had left the church immediately after my announcement and were waiting for me to contact them when I was ready. Several of my friends had texted their congratulations on my escape, apparently having harbored their own reservations about Amanda. Most surprising was a message from Jessica, "She is losing it, please answer. I do not blame you, but it is getting scary. She has locked herself in her apartment and is not eating. Call me if you can." After careful consideration, I texted Jessica back, agreeing to meet her for coffee the following day. She flew to San Diego, clearly concerned enough about her sister to make the journey. "I have never seen Amanda like this," Jessica said as she stirred her latte nervously. "She always bounces back from setbacks, usually by blaming everyone else. But this time she cannot seem to find her footing. Your letter hit hard. Seeing everything laid out so clearly, all her manipulations and lies, I think it is the first time she has had to face who she really is. I am sorry for any pain this has caused you and your family, I said sincerely. But I could not go through with a marriage that was built on deception. I know Jessica sighed. Our parents are mortified. They offered to repay your portion of the wedding costs, by the way. That is not necessary, I replied. Consider it the price of learning a valuable lesson about who I want in my life. From Jessica, I learned that the aftermath at the church had been chaotic. Amanda had collapsed in tears, alternating between claiming I had misunderstood to admitting everything, but insisting she had changed her mind about leaving me. Her carefully crafted image had shattered in front of the very social connections she had been so eager to impress. Richard from the marketing division left immediately after your announcement, Jessica added with a hint of satisfaction. Apparently he was not interested in being part of her backup plan either. In the following weeks, I focused on rebuilding. I returned to work, throwing myself into a new project that had been offered to me, heading up our company's new division in Seattle. The move across the country provided the fresh start I needed. Financial recovery would take time. I had lost nearly $70,000 in non-refundable deposits and payments, but my career was solid and I had protected my remaining assets. More importantly, I had preserved my self-respect and avoided a marriage that would have ended in even greater heartbreak and financial devastation. 6 months after the wedding that never happened, I was settled in Seattle, making new friends and enjoying the vibrant city. I had started hiking on weekends, something Amanda had always dismissed as boring and beneath her social status. It was on one of these hikes that I met Elise, a wildlife biologist, with an easy laugh and authentic manner that made me realize how exhausting Amanda's constant performance had been. Our connection was immediate but grown slowly, built on honest conversations and shared values rather than superficial attractions. On the 1-year anniversary of my non-wedding day, I received a final email from Amanda. I have been in therapy, she wrote. I realized I do not know how to love someone without seeing them as a means to an end. I am trying to change that. I am sorry for how I treated you. You deserved better. I wished her well in my reply, but maintained the boundary I had established. Some bridges once burned should remain crossed. Looking back now, I recognize that overhearing Amanda's cruel confession was actually a blessing. It saved me from years of being used by someone who saw me as nothing more than a stepping stone to the life she really wanted. The pain of that moment was intense but temporary. The pain of living a lie would have been enduring and corrosive to my soul. True connection cannot be built on deception or strategic positioning. It must be founded on mutual respect, honesty, and genuine care for each other's well-being. I deserved that kind of love, and eventually I found it by first honoring myself enough to walk away from its counterfeit. Have you ever had to make the difficult choice to walk away from someone who did not truly value you? Share your story in the comments below. If this experience taught you something valuable about self-respect or recognizing manipulation, please like this video and subscribe to help others find this story. Consider sharing it with someone who might be questioning their own relationship, because sometimes seeing someone else's journey helps clarify our own. Thank you for listening, and remember, you are never just a stepping stone in your own life. You are the entire path, the destination, and the journey all at once.